All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. So we're going to try something a little bit different today. We are going to be just doing a quick MLB recap, nightcap. And if you are joining us at any point in time, or if you're watching this a later time, thank you. And let's just get right into it. Please don't mind the mess behind me. Of course, living a busy life of someone who's covering a lot of different things. Let's just get right into it. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the MLB and opening day, specifically for March 27th, the wrap ups and the storylines that are already starting here so early into the season. We're going to be covering the 8 games that happened today, starting, of course, with the battle in between the New York Yankees and the San Francisco Giants. So the San Francisco Giants are still on the schneid. They have not won a home game in the year of 2026, and today was no exception, being held only to one hit today. That one hit came from Helio Ramos. And unfortunately, not a whole lot of offense came from the team otherwise, being held for those complete 9 innings. Now, Robbie Ray pegged with the loss today with a 3.3 ERA, as the final score today was 3-0 in favor of New York. New York, of course, starting their torrential pace, trying to get back to the World Series after their storylines of, well, not being the team they were about 20 years ago. But they seem to be off to a good start. Aaron Judge is hitting baseballs the way that they're paying him to. And as of right now, the pitching has been holding up. In fact, former Giant Camilo Duvall shutting down this Yankees lineup. Not the Yankees lineup. He would have if this was last year. He shut down the San Francisco Giants lineup today as he gave 3 strikeouts out to his former teammates. Now, the save would go to David Bednar, former Pirates closer, now in the pinstripes, and he seems to be finding his footing now after a bit of a rocky introduction last year in the trade acquisition. But enough about that. In case you are looking for that itch of course, Oakland legend highlights, well, there aren't many to go around today. Matt Chapman was playing third base today. He had 2 official at-bats, but he walked twice, struck out once. But hey, getting on base at least 2 times today in the contest. So, moving right along, let's go into the Kansas City, Oakland, Sacramento. Don't call them that. No, the Athletics, everybody, faced off against the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Athletics having their opening day game over into the Canadian territory. They did not fare well, though that wasn't without some good trying. So we start to see what this young core, this top 5 MLB lineup in the league right now is up to. And to be completely fair, just a bit of bad luck today. Shea Langeliers, of course, started the scoring off here in the top of the 4th with a solo home run, but that would not be enough as Toronto would score a total of 3 runs in this game, where the Athletics would be scoring just a total of 2. Now, of course, things happening here, there, and everywhere. Shane Langeliers putting the offense on his back today. However, it just simply wasn't enough. Luis Severino pitched 5 innings, but he was tagged with the loss today. And also, well, he actually wasn't tagged with the loss. It would actually be the walk-off that was handed out by none other than Sterner. Yes, that is right. The current relief pitcher for the Athletics, Justin Sterner. An unfortunate start to 2026 for him, as he would allow the winning run to score here in the 9th inning in Toronto today. Now, moving right ahead, let's go to the Colorado and Miami matchup today. And let's be honest, was anyone watching this game? For those of you that were, let's go ahead and talk about that. So a final of 2-1 Marlins, and of course, not the most exciting matchup of the day today. Not a whole lot of fans watching, to put it very bluntly, but of course, lots of things happening here today. Sandy Alcantara pitching for Miami, getting the win after pitching 7 strong innings of just 4-hit, 1-run baseball, racking up 5 Ks to start off the campaign. But of course, on the opposite side, Kyle Freeland, our opening day starter for Colorado, did not fare as well, going just under 5 innings, but allowing 2 earned runs, racking up only 2 strikeouts, and giving up 2 free passes. All righty, but not a whole lot going on there. Just a bit of back and forth and just a little bit of foot finding for some of these teams, which currently are ranking among the top of their divisions. But if I'm being completely honest, if it's you, me, and everyone else, I don't know how long that might hold. Though surprises can happen. It's 162 games for a reason after all. Let's go ahead, though, and move right into Atlanta. Yes, that's right, Atlanta, which is home to now a couple of A's legends. Of course, Matt Olson, you know him, you love him, the first baseman for the ATL, and newly acquired Jonah Heim. For those of you uninitiated, of course, Jonah Heim is an Oakland legend. He played for them for at least a few games, and most of you know him as the Texas Ranger backstop, who is now the Atlanta Braves backstop. Not a whole lot going on here, just some routine Braves baseball. Hopefully, the injury bug does not bite them this year as badly as it did last year. Still waiting on a few returns, including that of Sean Murphy, the other backstop that used to play for Oakland, ironically enough. And we're going to see how that fares, and hopefully the rest of the team can stay healthy because, hey, I like the Braves. They like to pick a lot of A's players up and give them their full potential. But let's talk a little bit more about the game. So, a whole lot of scoring here on the Braves side, not a whole lot on the Kansas City side, but not a whole lot of that scoring or RBI was really done by our former Oakland legends. A lot of it was just a team effort. Ozzie Albies starting off the scoring with a home run in the first inning, and of course, ending out with the bottom of the third, we have Drake Baldwin hitting a homer. And then in the fourth inning, Michael Harris would homer, making it 4-2-0. So, yeah, I mean, a pretty standard matchup, everybody, if I do say so myself. I mean, the Kansas City Royals are, of course, a pretty good team. I wouldn't hold this too hard against them. And thinking about all of that together, it's really a whole lot of stuff going on. And the Kansas City Royals, let's be honest, they're a good team again. And I think they have a good chance at going after the AL Central if we're not careful. But you can't win a division on losses. So they would have to turn that around very quickly. Of course, first loss of the year, first game of the year. They're not on a good pace so far, but White Sox, don't worry. I think your record is safe. All righty. But Chris Sale earning the win today, earning with 6 innings pitched, racking up 6 strikeouts, and only allowing 3 hits in the contest. And of course, the losing pitcher on the other side, only going 4 innings, was Cole Reagans. Now, once again, like I said, these are the first couple of games. It almost feels like you're kind of shaking out the spring training stuff. Now, yes, down the line, if you're thinking towards the All-Star break, oh, maybe if they just win one more game, maybe if it's just something like that, it would be just fine. But to each their own. I don't think these games matter all that much. Even if we talk about, oh, if they just win one more game, they would have had a wild card. No, I think you just need to turn it on a little bit closer when you see the fuller picture start to come into place. But enough about the Braves, enough about the Royals. Let's talk about what is happening in Houston. Houston Astros fans in everywhere are in shambles at the moment because they have just earned their second loss at home against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, the Anaheim Angels, the California Angels, whichever one you call them. That's going to be those guys from Orange County. That's right. Mike Trout may be back, ladies and gentlemen, hitting his second home run in 2 games this weekend. Now, with that, the scoring did take off a little bit more. Opposed to a 3-0 finish last night, it was 6-2 in the final in Houston today. Of course, like we mentioned, Mike Trout did hit his second home run this year, as well as Josh Lowe hitting a home run to start out the scoring here in the top of the second. Scratch that. He made it 4-1. All righty. But moving right along, though, we have Kikuchi. He did some great work there, only pitching 4.1, so not enough to get to get the win today. He did allow 8 hits, 2 earned runs, and even coming off of a home run off from, of course, Yordan Alvarez. Now, moving right along, we have, of course, Burrows, Mike Burrows, that is, pitching for Houston, not getting the win here in Daikin Park. And that is going to be some unfortunate news for Houston fans everywhere. I would say I feel sorry for you, but I think you understand by now. Not many people do. Okay, but something that came across my mind as I was looking over these just a little while ago is Okert, Stephen Okert. I thought he played for the A's, but actually, no, he did not. He played for the San Francisco Giants, and from what I recall, he was not very enjoyed by the San Francisco fans from none other than Riverside, California. Don't know why I'm giving him a profile. He never played for the A's. So let's go ahead and just get right over here to San Diego and Detroit. So San Diego and Detroit, of course, another good matchup here in San Diego in sunny Southern California. But the Padres would now fall to 0-2 after yet another loss to the Detroit Tigers. So the Detroit Tigers, of course, another good team in the AL Central. In fact, a very good team and nothing to sniff at indeed. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. Framber Valdez getting his debut with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yes, that's right. Pittsburgh Tigers, everybody. The Detroit Tigers, of course. Now, being one of the big dollar high end acquisitions, it is good that he is putting his money where his mouth is. Of course, pitching 6 strong innings of 7 hit ball. But he also did rack up 5 strikeouts and did not actually earn the win. That would be none other than Emmanuel De Jesus. Emmanuel De Jesus, of course, was able to be in the right place at the right time, earning the win, just pitching 1 inning, allowing 1 hit, and getting 2 strikeouts in his outing today. The loss on this other side would be handed over to none other than Jeremiah Estrada. Now, Jeremiah Estrada was pitching for San Diego at the time, and he only went 2/3 of an inning, but that was more than enough in San Diego as he allowed 4 earned runs, but he racked up 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, and will be tagged with not only a blown save, but the loss as well. Very sad news there, but looking around, we have a couple of familiar faces in here as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the couple of Padres that were former A's. Let's go ahead and first talk about Miguel Andujar. That's right. Andujar used to play for the Oakland Athletics. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what he did in this game today, which was none other than a staggering 1 hit for performance today. Did get an RBI, but went 1 for 4 today. And right below him in the next position in the lineup was Ramon Laureano, mimicking him exactly to a T. Just 4 bats, but just 1 hit, but 1 RBI. All righty. So the Oakland Legends coming out in full force for San Diego today, as those 2 runs came from none other than former Oakland players. All right. And let's just dive right into the next matchup. Now, this next matchup did break my heart just a little bit, which was Cleveland and Seattle. Cleveland and Seattle up in Seattle, up at Safeco Field. But this one would go to the Seattle Mariners. Now, Stephen Vogt not getting off to the best of starts here. 1-1, not in bad shape, but you never want to start a year at 500. You linger around that area too long, and you might miss a playoff window, especially in the very competitive AL Central. Alrighty. And of course, one of the things that would not be news about this game is George Kirby earning the win today for the Seattle Mariners, pitching a strong 6 innings of just 1 run, 2 hit ball. Now, he did allow a home run today, but it was more than enough to get the job done today. And on the losing side for Cleveland was Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams, unfortunately, getting tagged with the loss today and was just not enough to do it for his team. And that's just going to have to be how that goes. But so far, the series is evened. We're going to see what happens tomorrow between these 2 teams and see who wants to walk away with this series. But let's go into the final game, and that would be none other than the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Los Angeles Dodgers, in no surprise, will beat the Diamondbacks once again. Is it 2024, 2025, or 2026? I don't think this would surprise anyone that the Dodgers are beating the Diamondbacks, especially at home. Now, the Dodgers, of course, being with their roster of mostly diamond, to try to collect all their cards in MLB The Show, and you might be able to put a payment on a small house if stubs were real money. But moving right along, we have a couple of things here to talk about, which, of course, is going to be our winning pitcher, which is Edgardo Henriquez. Now, this was going to be a bullpen game, a very close game, all told, and it took until the 8th inning to finally get a winning decision. So, that being said, a great opportunity for the bullpen arms to see if they can finally hold down a lead, as that was a problem they were having in the end and latter half of 2025. Edwin Diaz making his first save of the year, which is good news there because, well, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, when Edwin Diaz was on the Mets, and sometimes he would get a little hair up his nose and things would get ugly pretty fast. But Hopefully, he finds his footing there. Of course, you never want to wish ill on anybody. Yes, even if they play for the Dodgers. But enough about that. Let's talk about Max Muncy. Yes, another former A's legend. He went 0 for 2 with a strikeout, but he did walk once. So I guess maybe Max Muncy will have something to come later on this year. That is, of course, tongue in cheek. Of course, he will. He always does, even if it's just for a couple weeks at a time. Moving over to the Diamondbacks side, the losing pitcher would be none other than Kevin Ginkel. Kevin Ginkel is another bullpen arm, but for the Arizona Diamondbacks this time, allowing that one run in the eighth inning, which was going to be enough for this contest today. Now, that is, of course, a final of 4-5 from Unique Low Field at Dodgers Stadium. Can we talk about that now that we're done talking about the games? Can we talk about how the Dodgers have now gone with a new name for their stadium, but it's not their stadium, it's their field? Is anyone really going to be calling it that? I I don't think so. I'm personally not. I'm still going to be calling it Dodger Stadium through and through. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, this is going to be a big change for everyone because so many people are going to just start calling it Uniqlo Field at Dodger State. That is such a mouthful. They're going to dog on the Angels for calling themselves the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which is fair. But you're going to have a field that's like long enough to be its own complete sentence. That's absolutely ridiculous. What are you guys doing? What's happening? Why are we getting all these brands here? We have all these different fields that are changing names, all these different fields that are getting new names. It's kind of like if you were to say like, "Oh yeah, we're going to change Yankee Stadium. It's not going to be Yankee Stadium anymore. No, no, no. We're going to change it to something else. We're going to call it Hardee's Stadium. We're going to call it Hardee's Field at Yankee Stadium." Like, does that make any sense? Like, oh yeah, you remember Fenway Park? Yeah, you love the Boston Red Sox, don't you? Or we're gonna call it Dunkin' Donuts Field at Fenway Park. Like, it doesn't make any sense when it's a historic field like that. I know I might get heat for that, but if it's Dodger Stadium is a historic field by this point. It's been there for decades, and it's one of the oldest fields out there. With the pull that the Dodgers have, granted they're paying literal billions of dollars once these contracts are finally fulfilled. You you got to keep the name. It's just like a purity thing. I don't know, like maybe you'll know what I'm talking about, maybe you don't. But like there's some things you just can't change. It's like you can't change like I was mad about this. Back when they were like back when this is a football thing, but back when the Steelers were like we're not going to be Heinz Field anymore. They were like, "What? Why?" Everyone knows it's Heinz Field. It's like not calling that big tower in Chicago because I'm not going to call it what it is now. It's like not calling it the Sears Tower. Of course, it's the Sears Tower. That's what it's always been. That's what it always will be. Don't even get me started on AT&T Park. Excuse me. Pacific Bell Park. Okay. In fairness, I'm too young to call it Pac Bell. It is AT&T Park in my opinion, which is probably completely undermining my argument right now. But one more thing I want to talk about before I do wrap things up. And if you are watching this in the future, just go ahead and let me know if this is something you want to see. If you wanted me just to kind of randomly do like a nightcap every now and again, just ramble on about anything that comes to mind. But just another thing I want to talk about is the fact that we want to circle around and talk about the A's. They dropped a new patch for their jerseys this year. And it's commemorating the franchise being 125 years old. Now that's fantastic. That is an absolutely amazing accomplishment as a franchise. That is something that absolutely should be celebrated. And I'm all for it. Except for the fact that they're not celebrating it in Oakland. They're not celebrating it at Howard Terminal. They're not even celebrating it on a major league field. They're celebrating it at Sutter Health Park. Now, nothing against Sutter Health Park. It's a gorgeous stadium. It's absolutely wonderful for AAA. A AAA stadium is not the home of a team that spent 125 years in the major leagues. 125 years of a franchise should not be celebrated at a stadium that team is playing for rent free in order to save money to play this smoke and mirrors game of signing players to long-term extensions so you can give a veil of falseness to the fan base that you might be building in Las Vegas, to a stadium that might be done in 2028, with a team that might not even be called the Las Vegas A's. Now, with something like this, it's a lose-lose. Because if you don't commemorate the team being 125 years old, the diehard fans that would follow the team thick and thin, no matter what, are going to start asking questions. Do you not care about your history? You had that whole immersive experience in Las Vegas. Do you not care about your history now? Why are we not getting anything to commemorate this team in a big milestone that it's crossing? It makes you think. Because is this something to market for the new market? Is this something to try to pull in some nostalgia? Is this something to just sell merchandise? The thing is, if you're going to have a team that's celebrating such a long withstanding milestone, which in fairness has relocated more than most, if not all, of the other teams in the major leagues, why would you not try to plan this a little bit better? You can ride home all you want on how, oh, it was the civic government's fault. It was the city of Oakland. It was Alameda County. It was the state of California itself. It was ownership. It was the fans. It was this. It was that. You can say whatever you want. But if you were to break this down as a business, let's just say, throw a hypothetical of just throwing it in with like a fast food business or something like this. Like, let's say it's like McDonald's or something. If it was McDonald's celebrating like a big milestone, like 125 years, 200 years, whatever it is in the future. But the only location open was inside of a Walmart. Does that really feel like a celebration? Because to me, it kind of feels like a cheap way to force a relevancy, to force a feeling of nostalgia, to market a team on its history. Aha. Because ever since 2007, all that A's fans have gotten is marketing on history. Anytime you went to an A's game under the guise of the current ownership group, the biggest promotions, the biggest footage, the biggest marketing pushes. Hey, do you remember the three-peat in the 70s? Hey, do you remember that time in 89 when we beat our cross-bridge rivals? Hey, do you remember that time we won 20 games in a row? Which is a dead record now, by the way. Hey, do you remember that time that one pitcher, that local guy, grew up here and threw a perfect game for his hometown crowd? Hey, do you remember that time we went to the wild card and lost? Hey, do you remember that time we finally won our division after fighting tooth and nail for it, almost literally, in front of 0 fans, and then decided to tear it down the next year fans might have shown up? Hey, do you remember when we got this close to building a stadium in a prime metropolitan area in Oakland, and then we backed out because we didn't want to cover the check? Hey, remember that time we sent you 2 emails about how we're so sorry that we couldn't make it work as we bought our $30 million home in Las Vegas? That's all we've been given. And that's why A's fans are so mad. Because all we've been told is how good things were. We've never been told in assurances that we were going to keep players. We were going to build a core. We were going to have a team that you could comfortably and confidently invest in and maybe see, just maybe, see them get past an American League Division Series. But instead, we were given memories, which we had to cherish because that was all we had. And what did we get in return for that? We got blame. We got higher ticket prices. We got a stadium that was crumbling and was barely funded to keep running. We got to share a team with a football team that tried to get a stadium in Oakland, but was ultimately pushed out by not only the city government, but also their roommate who didn't want to agree to the terms. And all that to say, when all you sell is memories, when all you're worried about is the past successes, you don't have a product to sell. You don't have the team you're boasting and what you claim to be. And if you pay attention, you don't have the attention of the true weaved into diehard baseball fans. When you have high level, high profile journalists during this move, such as Ken Rosenthal, saying on record multiple times that this move doesn't make sense, that this move isn't good for the team, that this move isn't good for the market they're moving to. What are we supposed to say to that? But sure, let's celebrate 125 years of this team. But let's actually celebrate 115 years of this team. Because the last 10, this team has been systematically, falsely pushed into the postseason and then immediately torn down when the team seemed to be getting too good. When all that mattered very plainly was the bottom line of the revenue this team was bringing in, to a point where the season ticket holders are no longer buying their season tickets until something changes. We're left in the dark. Because when they introduced A's Access, it was an absolutely fantastic way to bring more intrigue and interest for A's fans to commit to maybe not a full season, but to a few games at a time, a bundle of them. Because who wouldn't love coming to the Coliseum? Anyone but A's fans. But A's fans would go there 81 times if they had the means. I've been rambling quite a bit. But if you've made it this far, thank you very much. It just doesn't make sense because what are we left to talk about? The minute they leave, they start extending players. And people say, oh, they just needed to leave Oakland. That's all they needed. Is it? There's a very old adage. And it's a stupid one. But it makes sense. Because, I mean, who doesn't want to make money? Of course. I get it. You want to make money. Professional sports teams is effectively gambling. Sure, I understand. You could throw a bunch of money at a team. But it's not always going to be the Dodgers. It could be the Padres. The Padres spent millions, maybe even just over $1 billion on a team. And they haven't seen a World Series yet. Now, a good example, of course, the Dodgers. Yes, they understand how to move their money around, how to sign players. But throwing monies at players does not a successful team make. But what it does do is it instills a trust with your fan base. Locking in players does instill a trust in your fan base. And when you do that with A's players, it starts getting attention of people. And people start thinking, yeah, maybe they just needed to move from Oakland. But as the old adage I was referencing to, in order to make money, you have to spend money. In order to spend money, you have to have money. If he's good for it, why hasn't he spent more? Why didn't he spend more before the move? Could you name one player off of the 2023 roster before they started really talking about moving to Las Vegas? Chances are you probably can't. Because by the time we hit the end of 2023, the roster was stripped down to the studs. There was practically no one left. And of course, you can look back and say in hindsight, well, then we should have shown up more as A's fans. Maybe. But when you understand that this is the kind of system that we were put through since 2007 of letting players sign somewhere else, trading the top talent for a new core, developing that new core, and then trading that top talent for a new core. We were playing chicken. Did we lose? Maybe. But I think the real losers are going to be Las Vegas. And here's why. Yes, they've extended guys like Soderstrom, and they've extended guys like Lawrence Butler, and they're trying to extend more guys. They're trying to keep this core, this young core, which is talented. I'm not saying they're not a good team, but how much assurance is that? How do we know that come 2029, we find out, oh, this Soderstrom guy, we traded him for a top 2 and 3 prospect from Cincinnati. Oh, Nick Kurtz. What a fantastic player. We sent him over to New York. And because we weren't smart about the move, he signed there as a free agent. Oh, this Gage Jump guy, great pitcher. Yeah, he had an awesome 2028. I can't wait to see him pitch in Las Vegas in a Los Angeles Dodgers uniform. Do you see where I'm going with this? I don't believe for 1 second that these players have any staying power because I've seen it before. I've seen my share of pitching. I've seen my share of hitting. I've seen my share of 2 impressive cores who were blown up across the Major League Baseball scene and performed to a level that if they were on the same team, they might have went to the World Series. They might have won the World Series more than once. But instead, we get to celebrate the way we do on my channel. 125 years, 57 of them in Oakland. And each and every one of those years, we have to cherish. Because as Ace fans, all we have are memories. All right. I think I'm going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and stop that there because I think 35 minutes of fumbling around MLB scores and then having a therapy session with you all is more than enough. If you did make it to the end, thank you. If you had just had me on in the background, hey, glad I could be your background noise. But if you've been listening to me talk and you'd like maybe more videos like this, let me know. I'd love to shout at this camera for a little bit. I think it would be a fun time. Without further ado, though, if you do want to follow me for Oakland Legend updates, if you do want to learn a little bit more about what the Coliseum meant to fans like me, and if you would like to celebrate the green and gold, even with or without the team, subscribe. Follow me on my socials. Contact me. I'd love to talk to each and every one of you. But I don't know how long this stream is going to actually stay up. After all, in the description, it does say this is for an assignment. And not sure if bad-mouthing one of the teams is the best practice of maybe getting into the field. But regardless, thank you for making it to the end, if you have. Thank you for making it to the end, if you skimmed. And I'll see you all when I see you. All right, that's going to do it, y'all. Have a good rest of your night, and stay tuned for the next episode.